Hey, it's the podcast guy.
Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the Sutton Podcast.
And there it is! Sutton United at the GM Vauxhall Conference have put out First Division Coventry City, winners of the FA Cup themselves less than 2 years ago. And what a moment to enjoy for the fans of this Surrey side. They've had their moments before, but never one like this. But the whistle goes down. Delight for Sutton United. Sutton United from the National League are through to the last 16 of the FA Cup. No longer English football's perennial non-league club. A 123-year crescendo reaches a new peak for Sutton United, who are promoted to the Football League for the first time.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the Sutton Podcast in association with Lucky Star Gym. We're back today taking a peek behind the amber curtain and we are with Glen. He is going to explain all about his job. Or he's going to tell us what the official job is and what the actual job is. If you are a regular listener, thank you. If you are a new listener, please bear with us. You're very, very welcome. We love hearing from everyone. Join the conversation, stay connected, share your thoughts on episodes, chat with other fans on social media, all at Sutton Podcast. Likes, shares, comments really do help us grow and it boosts my ego, as I always say. Glen, welcome. Finally, I've organised my life to sort of the vague promise of, I must get you on one day. Yeah. It's like, no, this time was happening. Thank you for making time for me. How are you enjoying your break? I see you outside.
I'll be enjoying the break next week when I go on holiday. But it's come to fruition now, and it wasn't just a token gesture that I thought it might have been on a couple of the conversations that we've had.
No. It was just more like, oh damn, I forgot. Yeah. If you listen to anything, you'll realise I'm not very organised. For listeners who don't know you, we've seen you pop up in various interviews and stuff, but people may not know who you are. What is your job title and your role?
So I'm now the head of coaching and PDP lead, which is ultimately a youth team lead for the academy, which has obviously now gone from Cat 3 Academy just to a regular academy, if you want to call it that. But yeah, I came in as FP lead right at the beginning of the academy journey when we went Cat 3. And kind of worked up through various different roles, and which has landed me kind of in the last 3 years of head of coaching and with movement of staff, etc. Now leading on directly coaching with the playing group, and just moving forward from there. So it's been a bit of a journey, a bit of a whirlwind in a short period of time, going into my 5th season this year. But yeah, I've come right through the ranks, if you like.
And just briefly, the explanation of the Cat 3 to a regular is with the relegation from the Football League.
Yeah.
There's various things that affect the academy, which you wouldn't necessarily have thought of at the time because it's the first team. Why should that affect other parts? But if you could just give a very brief explanation of that.
Yeah, so obviously with the first team in the Football League, we got Cat 4 status initially, which was to play in the EFL Youth Alliance. And then after year 2, we went as a Cat 3, which meant we were then allowed to operate with under 9s all the way through to under 16s to kind of just have that pathway right from the younger players all the way through. And then obviously with the unfortunate relegation, that changed. We did do a year as a Cat 3, which again, as I say, 9s to 18s. But last year we went back to the Cat 4 model, which was just the under 18 group. But played in 2 leagues last year. As obviously, we also then entered the National League Youth Alliance as well, or Academy South as it's called. So yeah, it's a lot of to-in and fro-in, and a lot of upset lads, unfortunately, along the way at stages. But it's I think we're in a really good place now, and yeah, it's gone from that operation to a new one. But hopefully, it will help us to keep doing what we've been doing.
Yeah, I remember chatting to Jimmy start last season. It's really difficult conversations because so much of it is out of your hands. Of course we'd love to have 100 teams at every age group, but we just can't do it. But what is your a normal day? Let's say, what is your sort of normal day, week What is it for you? What would a normal
In
day
its
all
current guise, or as it's been along the way?
be? Whichever you like.
Yeah, so the current one is ultimately looking after our under 19 group, and all of the boys that we've got in now. So obviously we have a college program now, and I say obviously because I think everybody knows exactly what I'm talking about. But yeah, so we operate more of a college program now. So boys do further education, and obviously being attached and very much part of the football club. We have a full-time football program which we're going to try and utilize as the same vehicle as we did for the academy when we was in the EFL. So that would be organising the fixtures, organising officials, taking the day-to-day training with the group, individual development plans for the players, general admin, which not a lot of people will know about, goes par for the course with these sort of programs and teams at this level. So you've got to log all of your training sessions, log all of your matches, minutes, goal scorers. If there's any injuries, we've got the physios and we have to work alongside them. So they have to log all of that. And that was part of the EFL program because it all had to be logged for auditing and stuff like that, because obviously it's a funded program. And then, just recruitment, everything at the moment, really. It's like it felt, and we spoke about it a little bit in the office more recently, it feels like a first team environment now, which is great for us and great for the development of the guys in terms of their coaching side, because the players won't fall on your lap now. We've got to go out and do the hard yards. We haven't got as big a recruitment team as we had previously. So we've got quite a small team, but a really good team of people that have the club's best interests at heart. Some of which that have played for the club and been around it for a number of years, which I think is really important. So it's mucking in on everything really, right down to the other day, taking down some goals and with a ratchet set. So a bit of everything really.
Right. Funny enough, my next question was, this is Sutton United, and I'm pretty sure there's an awful lot of things that fall under the any other duties category. What do you do that you often find yourself muttering, this definitely wasn't in the job description?
Yeah, general handyman being one of them. We had a joke about that the other day. Yeah, listen, it's one of those where I think the team works so well because it is a group of people, definitely now that, listen, if there's a job to be done, we get it done and we know it's for the greater good. So, there's a little bit of everything in there. So no day is the same. And I think most people say when no day is the same, that's when you enjoy your work. But listen, we're working in football, so it's what we love. So I don't think we can really complain.
Okay, that sort of leads on to next two as well. How did you get into coaching, and what was your route to Sutton United? I know it was about 5 years, you said, but what was
this year will be the start of my 5th year, but it goes a long way back. I started coaching really when I came out of, it was called Centre of Excellence then, but the academy system myself. So I played, didn't get a pro, and thought, right, where's the next route? Do I go into non-league? And unfortunately, being 5'7", going into kind of non-league football wasn't kind of the right fit for that, kind of for the level that I wanted to play, really. Obviously, coming out of the environment that I was in, it was difficult to get your head around some of the stuff that might have gone on back then 20 odd years ago. So it was a very different environment. And then it really started with my eldest son. I started a team for him. He wasn't getting into his local side. So I started a team for him, which ended up, I then ended up with a club a few years later with 18 teams. And then started the journey then, really. So a little bit after that, went into Barnet when they was a League Two side in their academy. Started with their under nines, worked my way through, moved across, which was more local to, I'll say, one of our neighbours. I won't say their name, and done some work there in their YDP, so 13s, 14s, 15s. And then went into full-time coaching for the first time in a college program based over in Brunel University. That was my first full-time role in football with post-16 lads, full-time football program, leading that. And I kind of round about that time, that was before COVID time. I was at a Step 5 club at the time in non-league coaching, and started to take some players on loan from Sutton. So we're starting to build up a relationship with some of the staff that were there at the time, predominantly some of the boys from the 23s. And then my youngest son, started to go and watch Sutton games with a few of his friends, because we live in Newell and it was sort of the local team, and he wanted to go and watch. And I happened to go to the last game of the season, and bumped into the staff that I'd been getting players off loan from. And it was a case of, we're going cat free next year. Do you want a job? Thought it was a bit of a joke. And then in a Costa coffee shop in Worcester Park about 4 weeks later, I decided I was going to join as FP lead. And it kind of built from there, really. I had a year of that, a mixed year the following year of YDP, which is the older groups, and the head of coaching role. And then, just continue with the head of coaching role into the role that I'm in at the moment, going into as I say, the start of my 5th season. So very much a whirlwind experience at the club and through most of the clubs, really, which means I must be doing okay at what I do, I assume.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, you've mentioned a couple of you're at a men's team as well, taking players on loan. You kind of move back into taking the younger groups. So I'm taking a punt here. Do you enjoy working with young player development rather than first team football more, or is it sort of a bit of both, especially depending on the level?
It kind of both, scratch an itch, really. I think I've kind of realized there's more of a passion in the player development or in a club where there is scope for development, whether that be for myself or for the players that are within it. And to be honest with you, coming in to Sutton, it's just a place, it grabs hold of you. It really does. And I feel like I've been a part of the club all my life. I feel like I've been a supporter from day dot. And it's just strange what the club does to you. I have to be honest. And now I kind of feel if I was to ever leave now, it'd be like there'd always be unfinished business. It feels like now, I'm starting to see some of the lads get through to the first team, which is probably something we maybe get onto a little bit later, but we're starting to see that now. And I've seen the journey of those players. And ultimately, there's probably a stage now where I one day might be in the big seat, maybe, who knows. But it kind of feels like that's what it is and needs to be now. I've really settled here. I've enjoyed every moment of it. There's, as you probably know yourself, there's been quite a lot of change, not just through the club, but through the academy in particular, with different leadership and stuff like that. And I've gone through the whole lot of it, and are still here and still really enjoying it every single day. So it's probably the development side, definitely, but listen, it'll be great one day, if we get to a place and the opportunity arises, whether that be as part of the coaching staff or anything. But listen, who knows what's going to happen. But for definitely the foreseeable, I feel like I'm going to be at the club for a long time.
It's actually a really great example of the story of Sutton. Is turn up to watch a match, get offered a job over a coffee, and you've got to be thinking to yourself, this is right dodgy here. What kind of Mickey Mouse place is this? And then all of a sudden you find yourself going, oh, actually, I really love it. It's really, really good.
It is.
Strange place.
And just going around all, it's quite weird. So where we train at Cheam, it just shows what a community club it is, because we got the young lads here who are 16, 17, 18 years old, and when they're walking out of here after training in their tracksuits, that there's people stopping them and asking them questions about the club because they care. And I don't think I've ever seen that in any of the other clubs that I've worked in. They just they're just part of it. But these lads, it's great, and we get stopped all the time, and you feel it as well. You start talking to these guys and you really engage in the conversations, and it is really genuine that at the other clubs I've been at, you've never really had that feel. So it really does make you feel a part of it, and you see it when you go down to the club and people around the club and the volunteers. It's just incredible what the club does, to be fair.
Just huge, weird, lovely little family. It's just very, very strange. So your lens, as Steve Salis would say, is slightly different to ours as supporters. We're very like, well, this is success, this isn't success.
Yeah.
How would you sum up the 25-26 season for the academy and the boys that you've been with on the footballing side?
On the footballing side, painful. And the reason I say that is because we've probably had the busiest season for this group of players that we've had in the academy's entirety in terms of the amount of games we played, because the strongest group, the top end group, if you like, that are the boys that are filtered into the first team, were playing across 2 leagues. And it was really, really tough. And I don't want to bleat about games because, listen, we all ultimately love going out and playing football and being involved in it. But we literally ran out of steam at the business end. We were in a great position, put ourselves in a great position. And it was painful, in a nice way, because we put ourselves in that position. But yeah, it kind of really hurt. And I spoke to some of the boys that are going to be with us again next season, and it was like, let's make sure we don't have this feeling again next season. But then there was so much joy from a staff perspective to see so many lads earn the opportunity for first team places, not just being there to make up the numbers. And then the lads that this year have signed, on full-time terms with the club is amazing. It's almost like all of the work that we've been doing over the past 4, 5, 6 years has all been worth it. And there's been a few along the way, but to have as many as we have had this year is incredible.
It's absolutely insane. So for last year, I think you've touched on what the biggest challenge was, is the balancing, and especially at the end of the season. But what was your biggest high from last season on the pitch?
For us, I think probably going as well as we did across the board, and seeing so many boys being able to bridge that gap. It's so difficult. I don't think people realize how big a gulf there is between, and we're ultimately, if you want to have it right, we're ultimately a reserves, because we're literally the next side down from the first team, and we filter in. And for these young lads that have bridged that gap, that's got to be the real positive for me, because it's not an easy task, and they've made it really easy. The way that they come in every day, and I know loads of people say this, but these boys really do, dig deep and work hard, and in the nicest possible way. We go to a lot of facilities week in, week out, particularly in the EFL games program, and it's, everything's laid on for them. Like, these boys really come here and knuckle down and work hard and earn what they've got. And I think that's probably the reason why we've got so many through, really, because they come in, they work hard, and they really buy into the club ethos as well. I think all of them, they've just got that same feeling. I think when they walk out, as I say, they literally walk out of the sports club here, and they've got elderly gentleman character, and oh, are you one of the lads in the first team? Are you such and such? Because they don't know. They've just know that lads are around there, and yeah, that's probably the one for me. The boys, bridging that gap, and the academy really sort of showing its worth, if you like.
Okay, you've actually touched on a few things I want to go deeper on there as well. But what lessons have you taken as a coach, even into the new season? Is there anything you've kind of reflected on, going, I need to tweak that a little bit, or is it new boys and it doesn't matter anyway because the old boys have moved on?
It'll be a predominantly new group, but yeah, I think you can always learn lessons, really. I think we've come to a place where we know we can develop boys, and the way we've done it is to be competitive. And a lot of people say, oh, it's not about results, it's not about this, that and the other, but I'm going to be brutally honest, we have put a big emphasis on results, because I think development comes from knowing how to win football matches. And again, that comes back to why I think we've had so many boys that have been able to bridge the gap, because we've kind of, when we had the academy, the younger age groups, it was very much about the development, and you wouldn't really get into the boys if they didn't win. You try and give them some pointers on what we maybe could have done better. But at the top end, with the scholar boys and the apprentices last year, it's, yes, we're here to develop, but we'll do that part of it on the training pitch. But when it becomes match day, we need to know how to win football matches, because that's what Aggie's going to need when you go in there. And that was probably the biggest compliment that he paid the academy, was to say that when boys have gone in there, they've been ready. And listen, that's our ethos. Is it right? Is it wrong? It's ours. We own it. And I think that's paid dividends. So we won't change that. And I think maybe if anything, just probably around, if we're going to go with that ethos, we won't have as many games, so it might not come to fruition this year. But I think rotation maybe, and because they're all quality footballers. And yeah, I was probably guilty, and I've got to take this one on the chin of going with the group that had served us well and were on paper our strongest 11. And I think, unfortunately, those last 2 or 3 games, we literally hit a brick wall with the amount of games we played. The boys played a lot of minutes. And equally as well, and this is another thing, a lot of that was done in-house as well. Most of the boys, I think actually pretty much all of the boys this year that have gone through, done it all in-house, didn't go out on loans. We've had lads previously, JT and Junior, have gone down that pathway of a loan. But yeah, no, all of the boys this year stayed in-house, stayed with us, developed within the club. So it shows you can do it both ways. It shows, you don't have to have that loan route, but if it's the right thing for the players, then we know that's the right pathway for the development. And we've seen that with the boys that have come through before the lads this year.
This wasn't one I've written down. It probably fits up better somewhere else. But what is it like as a coach with the fact that suddenly Aggie will go, actually, I'd like to take up these players, and you're thinking, well, hang on a minute, I've got a game on Sunday. I'd rather keep, or Saturday morning, I'd rather keep them. Thank you very much. How does that affect things, or can you put that aside and go, no, it's great?
Yeah, do you know, I think that's again why it works here, because especially with Aggie, and to be honest with you, I can't really speak about the past because I wasn't aligned as the coach then. I took over. I'd done the full season last year, and I took over October, November time of the season before, of actually leading the group on the pitch. But the communication and stuff that I've had with Aggie has been fantastic. So it never ever felt like, oh, they're nicking our best players again. It felt like, wow, they're giving our best players an opportunity, or our boys an opportunity, and that's why we're doing it. We're not doing it, listen, I would have taken 5 players at the beginning of the season signing contracts with the first team over winning any trophy, because that's ultimately why we're doing this job. And that, in my opinion, is what we're going to be judged on. If we win a county cup or a league cup at Youth Alliance level, yes, that's great. And, it might look good from the outside and people come in, but we're ultimately judged on players, going into the first team and being able to cope and contribute at that level. And we've managed to do that this year. And I think, yes, that for me is everything, really. It's what we're here for. And I take that all day, every day, and twice on a Sunday.
Well, these next 3 sections we could have done in any order, but we're going to go with the success stories. I don't know whether Junior counts as last season or the new season, because he's moved before July, so I'm assuming it's last season. But Junior and Jack have both moved on for fees, undisclosed fees. How much impact does that have on the academy as a whole, and how proud is the academy as that? So, because both of them in their leaving videos were both full of praise for the academy. It wasn't just like, this is in the first team. It was just like, no, this is where we were built, in the academy, and yes, we finished in the first team. So how proud, pleased, and how much effect does it have on the academy?
Yeah, in terms of actually working directly with those 2 players on the field, I didn't do as much because I was kind of head of coaching in those moments. But there's parts of it that make you really proud, because if they're saying that and the boys that have come behind them saying that, we've got our recruitment right in terms of our staff, first and foremost. And having been a part of that, you're delighted with that, because we brought the right people in to develop these players. And Junior, I remember a game actually when I had taken over, when Robert left, and he'd been out on loan, and he come back for a midweek cup game, and he come into the side, and we was like, wow, what has happened? What has happened, in a good way, because he was just like a man on the pitch. It was incredible. The development that he had shown was unbelievable. And that was the case then. Okay, if he's not going to get a regular spot in the first team, there was conversations, and it's like, right, he's going to get a season loan and he will be ready, in our opinion. And you're not going to always get them right, but so far we haven't done too bad. And the same route with Jack as well. He went out actually on a step 4 loan first, then went to step 3, then went to step 2 at various different clubs. And I think in that sense, and that's been across the board with whoever's been in the club, in the academy, in terms of staff, I think that's one thing we can be proud of, is we've made the right decisions at the right time for these players. Because as I say, this new crop of players haven't gone out on loan, and that was the right thing for their development. So we don't just have a generic plan. This is what we're going to do. We really look out for the best interests of the players first and foremost, but what is going to be the right fit for the club, and hopefully, there'll be many more in the next few years as well.
Yeah, and Charlie also, he's kind of not forgotten, but he's not moved on like the other two with the headlines, and then suddenly the group of four have come through together. But Charlie came for a few sort of months beforehand. Yeah. Did you know how great he was at karate before he came into the first team to start kicking people up in the
air? Let's say that we did warn them that he has a bit of yeah. He's listen, I think Charlie is one of those players, and I think this has been said by first team staff before. If you take that edge away from him, I wouldn't say he's half the player, because he is a very, very talented footballer, and we see that from day one. We were fortunate enough to get him here once he didn't get a scholarship where he was, and he done his scholarship with us. And you could see from day one the technical side, his game understanding, his tactical side, his awareness. That there was something there, and you could see that in those early stages. And then, let's say he's combative. We see that from day one, and that's what sets him apart. But I think you've got to have that mentality. It's in different ways, but quite similarly that attitude and that desire, and you've seen that in the other lads as well. You see that in JT, you see that in Junior, and it's how you're going to make up the difference. I think a young lad getting into that level of football, because it is tough. There's some good football played, but it's physical, it's tough. And that's probably the one thing that all of the boys come back in their early days when they're going in and training, or when they're getting appearances, whether it be County Cup or the National League Cup, and then they come back and train with us at times. They say the physicality and the speed is the main thing that is the difference. And it's not to say, they say there's obviously talented players in there, but they feel that they can cope on that side of things. It's the attritional, the physical, and the speed of the game that they see the difference. And also, particularly in training, there's the boys they always come back. The boys are right. You've got to be on it, otherwise they're on you. But they seem to be the boys in our environment that are leading that. So they go from kind of leading that sort of standard, if you like, and then going in there, and they don't have to do it anymore because they've got people dragging them along if they're not doing enough, and they've got to find their feet and find where the level is. Because listen, if there wasn't a difference in level, we'd be in trouble. So it's great that they come back and say that, because there's then a bridge to get, and then that drives the other lads on, because they look at these boys going up and they see them as their sort of marquee players, if you like, and they think, wow, if he's coming back and saying it's tough, I better brush up and get on it. And I think that's driven a lot of the lads on. What we've been really lucky with, there's been no jealousy, there's been no backbiting. They've always been lauded by the other lads to go up, but it's really driven the other lads on to bridge the gap themselves. And I think that's shown in, again, how many boys have gone through this year.
Nice healthy competition of, okay, well, you've done it, I can do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Charlie obviously played a lot more games than we were expecting last year for various different reasons. Were you at any point concerned that he was playing too many games, or were you like, he can cope, it's fine? He'd only be over the park playing football anyway if he wasn't on the pitch.
Yeah, I think in this day and age, the boys, even, when we're at our peak and in pre-season and doing double sessions and stuff like that, these boys go out and do extra work all the time. Sometimes we're having to hold them back and say, listen, you're going to burn yourself out early in the season. But, I think there's a robustness about the players. I'd never be worried. And I think also as well at that level, people are very diligent in their work, and they know if their load's too high, and just ease them off a little bit. And I think that's probably the bit, and something you said earlier about people that are not involved in it, the bits they don't see. It might be a case of a lad having a day off from training just to rest and recuperate, and that's not necessarily going to be at home on his Xbox. That will be doing something around the club, resting. It might be on the bike, in the gym, or whatever. But all of those bits are managed, and listen, it's probably in people's eyes a given, but at this level it isn't always that, and hasn't always been in the past. But the professionalism is top, and you always talk to the boys, you're getting your rest in, like, we've got my program, and got an extra day off, and then they go hard again the next day. And yeah, and it's the same with us as well. Every now and again, we just have to monitor it and say, do you know what, lads, have an extra day off. And 9 times out of 10, you get it right, and then it pays its dividends because you come out and they're chomping at the bit to be out there on Saturday then, because it's, I haven't trained for a couple of days, and then all of a sudden, they're a bit wired come Saturday, and you have a few more bookings come the 90th minute than you usually do. And like, okay, maybe we won't do this too often.
Well, to me as a supporter, having even one player coming through and signing a contract from the academy is really, really good. So I'm guessing you would have been happy had it been just Charlie getting through, but then suddenly 4 players are brought into the side at various points. One question again I've just thought of, because I always wonder when you chuck someone on with like 3 minutes to go in a men's match, just like, are they getting an awful lot from that experience, or is it just being around the environment that they benefit from?
The game bit, I guess, yeah, because for the 87 minutes prior to that, or whatever it is that they're sitting on the they're soaking up the atmosphere. Now they're in front of 1,500, 2,000 in some cases, way more than that at that level. That it's not just nan, granddad, auntie, uncle, mum and dad watching them anymore on the touchline on a Saturday morning. So they're soaking up all that, and that sometimes can be a bit that they need to overcome as well, because it can be nerve-wracking playing in front of an audience. And when they're sitting there, they kind of can soak all that up and get onto the pitch. But I think it's the other bits as well, training around those senior pros, the players of experience. That's where they earn their bits, going into training. And then obviously the different physicality, the different tempo of the game, and different styles of play that they'll come up against as well. It's all learning on the job. So listen, it's all valuable. And also biding your time. And these lads are watching the game, and they're given probably strict instructions to come in at a point in the game and get us over the line, keep us ticking over, get us on the ball, take the sting out of the game, let's get us on the front foot, whatever the case may be. So going on at those stages of the game are probably even tougher, because it's not just a case of go on, have a little run out, son, enjoy yourself. It's the lads that have come on, I think most of them have come on, if they haven't started games, they've played sort of 10, 15, 20 minutes in games where it's tight, it's level, or we're one behind or one up. And so, they will probably be given some quite detailed instructions in terms of, right, this is what I need you to go in and do. So it's a lot of pressure, and probably something that would be a little bit different to the academy environment, because in that environment, they'd be starting from the off. They'd know the game plan, and they'd ultimately 9 times out of 10 be the players that are dictating the game, to now go in and have to track a wily old guy in the middle of the park who he's there 1 minute and gone the next. It's a massive learning curve from them. So all of the minutes are really, really valuable, for so many different reasons, not just the experience, but it's the experience of the atmosphere, it's the experience of being around the players, what happens at half time, the conversations that I had, the detail that goes in before the game, which, listen, we try and, put our boys in the best place possible. But at first team level, there's always going to be that little bit more detail and that little bit more given to them in terms of instruction for what they need to do.
And we'll talk about Dan mostly, because I think he played the most out of that little group. Were you surprised that, Aggie said he was ready, but for example, one of the games he put him at centre-back with Junior, I think our centre-back combined age was like 35. So it was like, were you in any way kind of think, oh God, these boys are they could get a horrible game? Or were you like, no, they're going to take it in this stride?
Do you know the weirdest thing? And if you would have asked me this at the start of the season, and you would have said you're going to have 2 of the lads that are either one still regularly in the academy and one that's come through that route and just broke into the first team, and they're going to be a centre-back pairing, I would have been like, oh, good luck, lads. But the last couple of years, there's been something a little bit different in terms of the attitude. And it was actually when that happened, I remember, I don't think I went to a game, but I think I remember seeing it on like the Sky Sports bit of the lineup or whatever. And it was like, it was excitement. It really was excitement. And there was no point I thought, oh, lads, please don't let yourselves down. It was actually, do you know what? This is amazing. These boys have earned the right. And actually, I'm backing them because I've seen them play and I've seen what they can do. And it's not, they're not just given a chance for the sake of it. They've genuinely held their head above water, and when they've played for us, they look like they need another level to go and play at. So, the timing was good. Listen, they've got ultimate trust from the manager, so I think that just gives them bundles of confidence as well. And all of these boys, Dan at the start of the season, without going into too much detail, we told him he needed to work on an aspect of his game, and he went away and done it, and that's why he is where he is now, because he went away and done that, and he just looked like a completely different player. And that's why he was then able to cope at that level. And that now comes down to him. That's not the work that we've done. We've said to him, listen, you need to work on this area. We can help you with little bits and pieces, but you're going to have to go and do the hard yards. And him going and doing that, we had a conversation about this the other day, that ultimately turned around his season within the academy group. And then he got his reward at the end of the season. And that is going back to me saying these boys coming in here, working hard, doing their work, and really, firstly, having a belief that they can get an opportunity, because, to me, I look at Aggie and the attitude is, if you're good enough, you're old enough, which is great. And the manager having belief in there for the players as well. It's like, it doesn't happen very often at any level, really. You get the odd one, but when you get a group of them and he's showing that belief as a player, you're just on cloud nine. So, you feel you can do no wrong. So, Aggie's probably got a lot to be thanked for, and really giving that the belief to those young players and those young lads and the whole squad.
Yeah, because it wasn't games that, oh well, we're mid-table, we'll be fine, nothing's on it.
Still a lot to play for, yeah.
There was a serious relegation issue.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was very brave.
And you've probably seen it at the club yourself, where there's been players, as you say, in games where maybe nothing to play for, or the old token gesture of a county cup game or something like that. These boys have been thrown in at the deep end in games that have a lot riding on them and a lot of meaning, and that's the ultimate compliment to them as well, because they're given the opportunity. He's seen them in training, he's seen what they've done for us, and believes in them, and thinks that they're the lads that are getting to get the 3 points and get them over the line. So credit to them for the work that they've done to put themselves in that position.
So they're all in different sort of stages of their journey. Obviously, they've all got professional contracts. So
yeah,
on one stage, they're all thinking, "Hey, we've made it. We've got a professional contract." But another stage, it's like, "No, this is the start."
100%. Yeah.
Sticking with the first team this season, or do you see some of them going out on loan? Or I mean, I'm not asking you if you've got any information, but do you
inside information? Yeah, they're all going to be starting.
That's it. We're playing only under 18 from now on. That's it.
Yeah. I think it comes down to their work ethic and ultimately what they do across pre-season, how they impress. And listen, it was never a given for JT. It was never a given for Junior, and they went in there and they held the shirt. Like, this is my spot, whether it be right back, centre back, right wing back, whatever. For those guys, they held down the shirt and they deserve to be playing. And ultimately, that's what these lads have got to go and do. And if that's not the case, they've got to go away and do their work. And whether that's playing games for us to keep them ticking over, or going out on loan just to bridge that gap and get that senior experience like the other lads have done previously. Listen, it'll be amazing if they were. I couldn't say to you who I thought was or wasn't going to get the opportunities, but I'll know they'll work hard for the opportunities like the other lads have done before them. And if they do, they'll be in there and there'll be good value for it. And if not, and we need to get them out on the loan to develop them, then we'll do that, because, as I say, that's paid dividends before, and hopefully we'll get that choice right again.
Excellent. Well, the next bit is something you said earlier of people seeing success as players coming through. So if we use that as an example of success and making it, what kind of traits or things need to happen is the difference between the players that make it and the players that don't make it?
In our experience at the academy, or my own personal experience?
So personal experience of what do you feel is the difference between a player who's made it by getting that contract and a player who's not got the contract for Sutton United in this example?
Yeah, I think a lot of people think it's the obvious, like technical ability, shining out, being able to do the basics, which is right. But I think mentality and attitude are huge. And each of the lads that have gone through, it's hard to say that it's their mentality or their attitude have done it over somebody else of the same ability, if that makes sense. But they've all had it. They've all had a desire and a will just to go and do it. I remember way back when JT first joined us, and we played an FA Youth Cup game, and he didn't get on the pitch, and he was absolutely devastated. He was absolutely devastated because he come here as a second year, but it was the first year of his scholarship. And he never got on the pitch in an FA Youth Cup game. And that was his last crack at the FA Youth Cup. And at that stage, for those lads, that's like the big game. That's the money game for them before first team stuff. And what he done after that was incredible. He got his head down, worked hard. I don't recall him ever being out of the team after that. You couldn't not pick him. He was like a man possessed. He was unbelievable. That maybe traits that he didn't show previous to that, but you could just see something had clicked. And then he went out on his loans, and you're getting good reports, playing senior men's football. Got to go up a level. He went up a level, done it again, great reports. And he just went from strength to strength. And that was a mentality thing. That was an attitude thing. Junior from the get-go, you could see it in Junior from the day he walked in the building, I think as an under 15 in the schoolboy program. He was just a cliche, but a mentality monster. He was incredible. I don't think there was anybody that could outwork him. There might be somebody that come in fitter, but he'd find a way to outwork them. It was just in his makeup. Belly the same, his attitude, his determination, his will to win. Even sometimes I wouldn't even, when he was the skipper at the start of this season, and if we didn't particularly have a good game, even if we won, I wouldn't even have to start going in the dressing room. The boys would see in no uncertain terms he wasn't happy. So, he showed leadership qualities. Earps is another one. As the season's gone on, if you know him, he's quite an unassuming type. But as the season's got, his leadership skills have really come to the fore. So all of these traits, Reeves, he's the same. Ronnie has skippered the side a few times. James Fenlow, and all of these lads have got exactly that same desire, that same will, and that for me is the key one. The desire, the will to never been beaten, and in a couple of them as well, they've had setbacks with injuries and stuff like that. Always come back, whether it's not playing in the side, always come back, and always come back stronger and more determined and more willing. That's probably the most clear and obvious one for me within our academy environment.
Well, the example I'm thinking of is, and you've kind of touched on it a bit there with injury, is luck as well, because Liam, brilliant. He's the youngest captain in Sutton United's history. He's captained the side as 7-year-old or something. But he then got that injury, and something we are going to talk about in a minute, because there isn't that sort of scope to go, well, actually, you hang on for another year. He's then gone elsewhere, but he has signed his contract with another team. As an academy, do we still look and say, well, no, he's still going on and playing football, so that's a success, even though it's not at Sutton United?
Yeah, I think there's some other lads as well, but if Liam's one, it is a real shame, as you say. Got the opportunity to go in to train with the first team, and unfortunately, picked up an injury, and a year younger, we've got that extra year because we go to under 19s now, and that's a lot of the reason why we done that. Some boys need that extra year to develop, need that extra year of development football before bridging the gap. But the under 19s, unfortunately, there's nowhere for us to go, even if they're talented lads and we want to keep them on, unless they're offered something with the first team. But the other side to that is, if they're going off and playing at a good level, then, you've done some good work with them, and you're pleased with what you've done. And George Vorster's another one. Listen, you probably could name pretty much all of our under 19s, and I think we pretty much know they've all gone to a club now, somewhere in the pyramid. So they're still in the system. They're still, working hard. Some of which have been with us slightly longer. So some of them were scholars and then become apprentices. Some of them done their scholarships elsewhere and done the year apprenticeship with us. And the fact that I think pretty much to a man they've all gone into clubs is, the work that's gone before us, you have to credit that because we haven't done all of the work. But yeah, the boys that have certainly been with us through schoolboy, scholarship, and then apprenticeship, and the lads that have come and just done the apprenticeship with us, to see them, you know, going into step 2, step 3 clubs, not too far off of first team level. You know, we must have, you know, not take credit for it, but we must be doing something right. And yeah, it's not people falling out of football. So again, yeah, level of success, yes, because ultimately you can't have 16 boys all getting first team contracts. It's, as much as we'd love it, that isn't reality. I mean, listen, 5 wasn't really reality at the start of the season, but listen, we're pushing boundaries.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've messaged, I think I've messaged all of these boys and pointed out that I expect to see you back at Gander Green Lane scoring against us at some point in the future. So give me a wave when you do. But again, something you touched on earlier, which I wasn't sure if we were going to delve into, but the gap, the jump from senior into senior football. Now you've mentioned that we try and recreate the drive to win, which is definitely something we notice is missing from a lot of academy football, especially when we're like playing in that silly cup. They just like to pass it around. There's no drive. But do supporters underestimate how difficult that jump into senior football really is? I mean, some of your boys are making it look easy, so they're not helping the cause.
Yeah, listen, it's incredibly difficult. If it was easy, as I say, we'd be getting 16, 17, 18 over the line. There's a lot of things that come into it. I think you just mentioned it a minute. There's a little bit of luck involved. There's timing involved. And also as well, you know, whether you like it or not, when managers change, you know, sometimes styles change and they like a different style. There can be young players that are involved in a group with a certain manager. A new manager comes in and it's not about their face not fitting. It's they play in a certain way. They need a certain style. They need different combinations in different parts of the pitch. So, you know, how the combination works in midfield, you know, who's the legs, you know, who's the ball carrier, who, you know, all of these things, partnerships up front, partnership, like going back to the partnership of Dan and Junior at the back. They complement each other. They played together countless times when Junior was a scholar and Dan was a schoolboy in the under-18 side. So they already built up that partnership, and it was a partnership that worked because they complemented each other in the way they play. And I think that is one of them, or a big factor is obviously the manager liking a certain style of player in a certain position, but timing. And yeah, there is luck, because, you know, the luck part is if I'm injured and I'm not playing, I'm not in the shop window, but I could come into the shop window right at the right time from an injury, play really well and leapfrog somebody, being in the right place at the right time. You know, not this season, but it could have been an example this year. Our season finished after the first team. Now, there might have been players that finished the season like a steam train, and, you know, first team staff might have had an opportunity to see that because their games had finished and they were paying you know, interest in ours, because that's what they do, and they've paid a lot of interest in our games, hence why they know what the boys are capable of. So yeah, there's a lot of factors involved in it, but yeah, it is a big step. And I think you see that if you look across the board, you know, we've had great success here, and, you know, we're buzzing about that. But in past years, it hasn't been as straightforward. There's been 1s and 2s here and there, and there's been 1s and 2s and they haven't quite made it, and then there's been 1s and 2s and one has, and, you know, that's been par for the course. But I think also as well, when I think back to, you know, when I was playing and growing up, and the club has always brought young players through. Even before being a football league club, you know, there's always the under-18. I remember playing against the under-18s myself back in the day, and there was always, but went on to play for first team and then went beyond that. Right back to, I'm the same age as Nicky Bailey, and we grew up in the same area and then went on different paths. And then, so there's an example there, you know, come through, young player and other players that, you know, I played. Once I moved to this area and played for Surrey, a lot of the boys played for Sutton. There was a bit of conflict there. I had my youth journey just through people who knew me. I played a little bit of time at Sutton, and there was some players coming through, and that's always been the case. And then, you know, before I was involved, you had Killian and Roman. There's always been young players coming through, no matter what level the club's been at. It's always been important to the club, and I believe it always will be important to the club. So, you know, we've just played a part in that over the last few years, and particularly this year. Hopefully it's going to pay dividends in the future.
you mentioned Nicky there. He was one of the last batch that was in the reserve team that we used to have. All clubs used to have a reserve
Yeah.
team. Different clubs used it different ways. Some people were like, oh, it's nothing. Other clubs
Yeah.
used it correctly and brought players through. Not as the academy, but do you think that has missed something in football? Because that is a part of the step of playing men's football, or do you think they were right to get rid of the reserves because it got a bit stale?
I think it's got to be right for the club. Sometimes finance plays a factor, but I think it has to be right for the club. And like, for example, here, that would be, and we ultimately do have it with the under-19s. That for me, that is ultimately a reserves here, because we're bringing in a different caliber of player, and not because the club are doing better work now, just ultimately because of where the club are. So we're bringing players in to an environment that the gap is smaller. It's still a gap, but the gap is smaller, and we're being able to bring boys of pedigree in that are going to be able to bridge the gap to the first team. And listen, football's evolved a little bit. The way the game's played is a little bit different these days to what it was 20 years ago, and what you needed to be able to cope with and what you needed to be able to do. And that's not just in the club, that's other clubs as well. Like, style of football has changed, and that goes back to what I was saying about when I was making that jump. It wasn't for me. I loved football and I wanted to play, but the game just bypassed me. Like, I wasn't winning a header against a 6'3" centre mid. It just wasn't happening, and that was the game. And that's how it was. So again, that comes back to timing. But these lads now, they're fitter, they're stronger, I think, in the nicest possible way. Because I thought I worked hard when I was a young player, but I see some of the stuff that these lads do, and they are, listen, I always say to them, you guys, we used to say run through brick walls for your man. You guys run through brick walls for yourself, and that's what you've got to do. And that's what it feels like they do now. So there's lots more opportunities. The gap is, I wouldn't say it's getting smaller, but I think the boys are more prepared now. They understand it, and I think a lot of that is, and people say it's a problem, but like through social media and stuff like that, we're starting to get boys now that started to stop a little bit. We all used to play, watch. All the players that played in all of the leagues when you was playing, and you'd watch loads of football, and that started to die out a little bit, I think. But the boys now are getting back to it. They watch football, they're learning from that, and I think that's another learning tool as well. Watching games all the time, the boys are prepared to go and watch our first team. They watch games on the telly. I think some people think that's a given, but there was a stage where some boys weren't even supporting teams. They did you watch the game at the weekend? No. Okay, but that's where you do a lot of your learning, watching. But the boys now, they're using every resource they can. Whether it's watching games, whether it's watching their own footage, whether it's doing extra work, whether it's coming into training and working hard. That's how they're starting to bridge the gap. And the change and how football's changed a little bit in terms of how it's played and stuff has helped with that golf as well. But they have to work hard to get there. Nothing's a given. And I think, if some people see some of the work that the boys got through to do this, it's not put on a plate for them by any stretch of the imagination.
You mentioned sort of chats of the first team management. So how closely have you? I mean, obviously Aggie had a brief to come in and sort something out, so I don't know how much conversations he's had with you guys. How closely do you generally work with the first team staff? I mean, is it Terry that's the bridge because he knows everyone, or
Terry comes in regularly and we have conversations with him, but it's never been a closed door. So I don't want to say previous managers shut the door on us being involved, but we've got to be. They've had other priorities. There was different things going on. I think also as well, it comes from the environments that you've come through, and obviously Aggie's background and the environment he's come through. He's got a bit of academy background, so he values that. And then it's just the person as well. And in terms of communication, whether it be me, whether it be Jimmy, communication's good, and that's quite often from Aggie. But if it can't be from Aggie, it's from Dino, it's from Ben. There's communication we need lads for training, we need a few extra bodies, or we need a boy from this position. And there's dialogue about asking how people were getting on. It was music to my ears when they asked me for the VO login, which is what we record our games on, so that they could watch the games back, because obviously they traveling away to Hartlepool, whatever, you're not going to be able to come and watch us play at MK Dons at 10:30 in the morning. So like when I was asked that, I thought, yeah, these boys, these lads are going to have a chance, or it's not going to be through the want of trying, because if they couldn't come to the games, they wanted to see what was going on, always asking questions. And it wouldn't just be football related. What's his attitude like? They want the right people around the place. And I think that's so important as well. And that's something here that we're quite hot on as well. It's not just a case of, oh, he's a talented player, he scored 35 goals last season, let's sign him. They have to be the right fit, that in the environment, there's not going to be any bitching, there's not going to be any backstabbing, there's not going to be any fight. And listen, you have moments where people get at each other, and that's just natural in football, but you want that tenacity there. But we've been really, really lucky, and I think that again comes back to whether it's staff recruitment or player recruitment. We'd like to feel that we've done a good job, because we've had none of that, and the boys have always supported each other, and the environment's always been competitive but enjoyable.
I'm laughing because that's the next 1, 2, 3, 4 questions already answered, because you've gone through that. But if I was to come and watch an academy side for 90 minutes, just a random game, what do you hope I would see?
Without being too cliche, boys that are playing for the badge, and it really comes across like that. They're putting everything into it. They're working hard, playing to a good standard, respectful lads. And I think through driving those type of standards, the ability takes over. So listen, you'll see a side that will play good football, will work hard, will be competitive, and you'll come away from there saying, I enjoyed it, win, lose or draw. Do you know what? If we did get beat, we've been beaten by the better side today. Not we've been beaten because they went a bit flat for 20 minutes and didn't fancy it. That's what we've always had. I think that's what the club's always had, and nothing's changed. And I think that also for me is so important, that there's people that work within the academy outside of myself that have either played for the club, know the club, or have had some involvement, because they then drive those same standards, and they know what the club's about and know what it stands for, and standards that wouldn't be accepted. And I think even when we've had people come and watch youth cup games and stuff, they've, again, win, lose or draw, people that have, we've had people turn up to Cheam to watch games when we played EFL games here, and I hope to see some of these boys one day. Really enjoyable, really hard working. What lovely lads, walking off and just shaking a guy's hand that they don't know, but people appreciate that. So yeah, I think it would be great if people could come down and see what's going on behind the scenes. But we don't get too wrapped up in that, because we know it's not reality. Listen, people support Sutton United. That ultimately means the first team. But yeah, come in and watch in the academy. Yeah, you be pleased with what you see, I'd like to think.
One of the words, respectful, can definitely say that, because when I see them on match days for the first team, they always say hello, and they play along that I'm important. So yeah, I like that. They always pretend. They go, hi, how are you?
And of that as well, I would never say we'll be disappointed if they didn't, because we just know they will. It's not, I don't even think it's something that we purposely install in them. I just think because it's always been in the environment, it's just a given. So it's not even something that, we don't have to do a PowerPoint presentation to tell the boys to be respectful. I just think it's here, and then year on year on year, those same standards are driven, and the boys that are now second years will drive those same standards, and it's just a conveyor belt like that. So yeah, but it's also pleasing to hear as well, because the last thing you want to hear is, oh, your lads are awful, arrogant. Yeah, cheers, thanks.
Love that. What would success look like for supporters this season? Do you, at this very early stage, do you think there could be players again pushing to sign pro contracts at the end of the season?
Yeah, we've got another good crop. I believe we've recruited really well, and I think one positive that we can look back on as well. So obviously you guys will know, because of circumstances, we went from Cat 3 to Cat 4, and the academy went, and we unfortunately had to, I wouldn't even say release, because we wasn't releasing them based on ability. You know, the Cat 3 program stopped, so the boys had to find themselves new clubs. We've managed this year, so some of our first year boys coming back in were boys that were in that program, so boys that would have potentially have got scholarships if they would have stayed in the program and was able to continue the program. So I think, you know, from that aspect, we're recruiting really good boys, so standards haven't dropped. We're able to recruit really good players, even though the landscape has changed now, and we've got some lads that were first years last year that will still be in that group, and one or two of them, you know, on the odd occasion trained with the first team last season, didn't quite break through to games, but trained with the first team. So we got that. So I think a few of them will be bridging the gap and hopefully training. And then first years this year, as I say, yeah, really good crop of players coming in that we can hopefully, you know, get in and around the first team, get in training, and hopefully be in not too dissimilar position to what we are this year. Will we get 5? Are we putting that pressure on ourselves? Why not? Why not? Let's get 6.
Why not? Let's do it. Right. Before we finish, aside from people coming in to be handyman, what can Sutton United supporters do to make things better for you guys at the academy?
In terms of support or
anything, support, players that do break through to the first team, just in general, how could Sutton United supporters go, right, what can we do to make help the academy? Anything. It's a vague question, so you give any answer you like.
Yeah, no, do you know what? I think just maybe come down and see some of the games and see some of the lads that are coming through, and, you know, have a finger on the pulse, if you like, and knowing the next ones that are going to come through, and, you know, be able to support them on their journey, and, you know, talk to people about it and just promote the academy, really. I think now that we've come out of that system, I think any promotion that we can get would be great. You know, any support. You know, we've changed tact a little bit of how we have to operate. So yeah, just any promotion, any support, whether that be games, whether that be, you know, reposting results, whether that be reposting interviews or highlight reels or whatever, just anything, just get the exposure out there. I think it's, you know, we're starting to get a little bit more exposure now, you know, with the media team working with the academy quite regularly now. So yeah, just that general. So listen, we've never asked for much. We just, listen, the support that we get from the club is great. We feel a part of it. That's not how all academies feel. So that's, for us, is invaluable. But yeah, if guys, you know, if we've got a 3:00 game and they can come down and support us in the morning and see the work we're doing, and, you know, I think they'll be surprised, because we'd be really open to having conversations, answering questions, you know, so things like this is where they will source that information. But, you know, like I was saying about the boys shaking hands, saying thank you for coming and stuff like that, you know, I think people will be pleasantly surprised. And, you know, with the support that does come to it, the real, you know, genuine support that comes to the club, that go week in, week out, and have been coming for years and years, I think they'd be pleasantly surprised if they come down and you know, just promote us really and support us. And
if anyone's got a toolbox, bring that with them.
Yeah, because it will save me and Clive stripping down goals and taking wheels off goals and putting them back up again and painting changing rooms.
Lovely. Ben, thank you so much. We're going to finish this episode of Sutton Podcast. As always, we appreciate everyone's attention and feedback. Follow, like, share this episode at Sutton Podcast on all the socials. Subscribe, give us a little thumbs up review, whatever you like. Thanks to Lucky Star Gin. And thank you, Glenn, for extended time. I said about 45 minutes. We've gone way over that. Thanks to everyone for listening. Hope you enjoyed this episode of Sutton Podcast. Take care, and we'll catch up soon. Bye-bye. United!